You are now listening to the A2J2 podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the A2J2 podcast, a podcast that promises not to choke like the Boston Celtics. We're all very pleased that they did not make history. Go Jimmy Buckets, and I just needed a little retribution from my team. But we are ready to get after another episode. I actually went back and listened to some of our old episodes in the past couple of days just for fun, and I'm still mad that a Bear beat a Gaucho, but I'm not going to get into that. The first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is the NBA Finals. We know the matchup now. We have the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. Kind of a tale of two series. You thought that it was going to be pretty similar when the Heat went up 3-0 on the Celtics. But, of course, the Celtics applied a whole lot of pressure, and Miami pulled it out in the clutch. I don't want to hear anything about Jason Tatum's ankle. Cry me a river. Play better. Don't get beat by 20. But we know the matchup, so I'm going to just go ahead and get right into it and make my prediction. I hope that the Heat win. I'll be rooting for the Heat. I won't be disappointed if the Nuggets win because it's parity, and I think parity is good for the sport. Even though I'm rooting for the Heat, I have the Nuggets in 6 games.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the fairy tale has to end at some point for Miami. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that this run right here is kind of solidifying Eric Spoelstra as the best coach in the NBA. You can argue all that you want, but I think this run kind of proves it. Right now, he's the best coach in the NBA. They've had a lot of big players that have stepped up, like Caleb Martin. Like
Huge.
He literally got cut by the Hornets a couple of years ago. So I think it was 2021. But I do think the run ends here just because the Nuggets are just such a complete team, and they have star power and they have depth. I'm with you. I'm rooting for the Heat, but I just don't see a way. The Nuggets have kind of cakewalked through pretty much everyone. I mean, the Suns were a little difficult, but I kind of see this being the same way. I just think the Heat run it ends, and I've got the Nuggets in 5.
Now I have the want the Heat to win it all because just like your team loses in the first round, you want it to at least be to the team that goes on and wins it all, just so you feel a little better about yourself. A little confidence bolstering. Like, hey, it wasn't that bad. We only lost to the champion. That's not. Yeah. I mean, everybody else did too. But yeah, I think the Nuggets is just a buzzsaw. I think you're going right into it. You're going Nuggets in 6. I think they win a few, though. They're going to win a couple of them.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Butler have a couple big
exciting.
games.
I think the whole series turns around if the Heat win Game 1, like they've been able to do against Boston and Milwaukee. I mean, look, if they win Game 1, we might come back on here and everything's changed.
Yeah.
So Game 1's super important, but if the Nuggets go in there and take care of business in Game 1, I think it's going to be pretty routine.
Hey, it could look just like that Lakers Nuggets where we go watch the first 6 minutes and we're all like, no, never mind.
We didn't say. Well, we picked them.
It was the top half.
Yeah.
The A's.
I was counting on the referees, and they didn't show up for the Lakers. So
sounds like salt. Go ahead, Andrew.
Also, the Lakers didn't show up for the Lakers.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I'm actually gonna go different. I think Jimmy Butler. I think he's proven himself. He's been, him and Joker have been rival top player in the playoffs so far. So, if you guys watched after they won it and beat the Celtics, he didn't even want to touch the trophy. He said, "No, I'll get the next one." And I think he's completely focused. He's locked in. You know where his mindset is. He wants to win or go home, and he doesn't look like he's ready to go home without it. So, I've got the Heat. I think it's going to be close. I think the Nuggets have proven they're not going to choke again like in previous years. I think it'll be close and tight. Give me the Heat in 7.
I'd be happy with a 7-game series. It'd be a lot of fun.
I would too.
I really just want to be able to watch the finals at the beach because I'm going there in a couple of weeks. And so,
do you all think the Celtics are going to keep Jaylen Brown after he completely pooped the bed in Game 7? Like literally 8 turnovers.
He did have 8 turnovers. He was also their leading scorer.
Yeah, but it wasn't efficient. It wasn't efficient.
It wasn't. You're right.
Nobody was though.
Could be
Celtics.
interesting.
But
I've seen.
he's literally like second team NBA. I mean, you can say nobody was, but Jason Tatum hurt his ankle, and nobody else on the team's
Yeah.
all NBA. So
Yeah.
Fair.
Well, it'll be interesting. I've seen some things on Twitter where they've talked about packages to send Jaylen Brown to Portland to acquire Dame.
I feel like everybody's coming up with some kind of stat to bring
Yeah.
Dame some help.
Yeah, but I've seen them where they acquire Dame, and I've seen it where they trade the third pick for JB.
yeah.
So it'd be interesting to. I would like to see Jaylen Brown play with Dame Lillard. I think that would be a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
it'll be fun. That'll be something that we'll definitely keep track of and see. I think at the end of the day they'll keep him though because he's their second best player.
Probably. Yeah.
And I said when we made the predictions all those months ago that Derek White was one of the most underrated players in the NBA, and he made me look pretty smart in that series, even though they did lose.
He also has one of the worst hairlines in the NBA.
Maybe the worst. It's
It
awful.
might be the worst.
Just shave your head, dude. It's okay. You're funny looking already.
You know, if you're getting into like a
ball.
word battle about a hairline with Stephen A. Smith, you're not doing very good.
That's facts.
I mean,
Ooh.
seriously.
Tough. Shots fired, and we know Stephen A. Smith is listening to this podcast. He's going to be very triggered.
Frequenter.
Yeah. So that'll bring us to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's a beautiful time of year when we've got both of these finals going back and forth. We have the Florida Panthers and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. We kind of alluded to it in the last podcast. The Panthers are kind of like the Heat here. It's kind of like what Jordan said. I think the Cinderella story has to come to an end. I hope they don't. I'm rooting for the team that I think is going to lose. Matthew Tkachuk, I actually really hated him when he played with Calgary, and I think it's just because he was kind of a pred killer. But I really like him now. He's American-born. He's unbelievable. But I think at the end of the day, Vegas is just so complete. So I've got Vegas in 5.
I think it's going to be a really, really close series, to be honest, because there was a lot that was proven to me in the conference finals that showed me that Florida's a lot better than what we thought. I mean, yes, like it's a Cinderella run, but maybe they really. I don't know anything about like their season and if they had injuries or whatnot, but there's something special. But it really reminds me of the Preds in 2018, was it?
Yeah.
Or 2017. Yeah, whatever it was. It's going to run out at some point, and Vegas is just the better team, and that's who I picked to win, so that's who I'm going to pick to win. But I really wouldn't be surprised if Florida won, and I think it's going to be a really good series. I've got Vegas in 7.
Again, I'd be happy to see a 7-game series, and also you never know, a hot goaltender, and Bobrovsky is good enough to be that guy. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's kind of weird that both these finals are ending, and you got a team from the West in same area, Vegas, Denver, kind of that western area right by the mountains, desert, kind of. And then you have Florida, and the Florida's the underdog. You got the West Coast. I don't know, just kind of funny that lined up that way.
Mm-hmm.
But Florida's scrappy, man. If I love to just pick the easy pick and just say the Golden Knights, just because they were so well-rounded. They walked through this playoffs. They didn't really struggle with anybody. And you watched Florida struggle with every opponent, but they scrapped their way to get through it. I'm going to put my money on it. I'm saying Florida. Florida in 6. Florida's got this.
They didn't struggle in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, they didn't, but they had to still go to overtime. They had to go, you know what I mean? Like there were games that they got pushed to the line, and Vegas just was routed their way through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's Florida in 6. Also, did you see that this is the first matchup in I think it was 14 years that there's 2 Native American players on each team.
That's really cool.
I thought that was kind of cool. One way or another, a Native American will be winning the cup this year. Cool.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
I'm actually going to go with Austin. I thought I was going to be the only one, but I was going to say Florida in 6 as well. The Knights have definitely looked like the. Do what?
Changing my pick.
Oh, are you? Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I don't hockey, but the Knights have definitely looked like the better overall team throughout the whole playoff. But like Austin said, I think the Panthers can. They grind those games out, and when it's close, I mean, they've been winning. So I think at this stage it'll definitely be close, and I'd rather have a team that's playing the close ones good than somebody who's just used to stomping everybody out. So
I respect the pick, Andrew, and I hope
That's
it
fair.
happens. I really hope it happens, but I just want to let you know that you're a traitor on the pick that you.
He picked the
You
Golden Knights.
picked Vegas from the beginning, and now they're in the finals, and you're picking against them. So the loyalty, I don't know where it lies, man.
I'm not gonna
Is
lie,
it-
I
is it
forgot
the
we even
Eagles
did
or
we even
Burrow?
did
I
that.
don't know.
Hey.
I can't say much because I picked the Suns to beat the Celtics in the finals just because I wanted to make Andrew upset. So
That's true.
you do what you do. But that is the intro to this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And another podcast I went back and listened to in preparation for this one was our GOAT pod, because we kind of alluded to this last week as well. And we talked about our opinion for the greatest college quarterback of all time. And just in a spark of inspiration, I asked the group chat if they'd like to build their greatest college football team ever on this pod. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to start with offense. We gave our opinions last week. I know at least three of us will go with this guy as our quarterback, but of course, quarterback's Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I mean, 2 championships, 1 Heisman, 2 Heisman finalists. It's Tim Tebow. Are we doing our backups right now, or are we going to wait till the end?
We'll wait till the end to do our backups.
Okay, so yeah, it's Tim Tebow for me, and honestly, I don't think it's particularly close. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like you said last week, Cam Newton makes a great argument for it, but it's the longevity of Tim Tebow compared to 1 season of Cam. So that's the reason I'm going Tebow.
Yeah.
All right, I have Tim Tebow under center. Just like I said last week, there's no argument. I mean, easy pick. Tim Tebow, put him in there. Might just be biased to like that growing up age, watching it on TV. Yeah, but don't matter. Put him in there. Put him under center.
I feel like
You're wrong.
Listen,
You're wrong.
No, Tim Tebow could definitely, probably takes it, but
it's wrong.
Marcus Mariota is a very underrated pick, I feel like.
I did not see you making that pick.
I agree with you on that
either, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate that pick. I like that pick better than Manziel.
Yes, yeah. I do. I like that a lot better.
I mean, just the longevity of Mariota. I love James. I love that Oregon team at the time, and unfortunately, he ran into Cam Newton, and Cam did his thing. But
no, that was Darren Thomas.
Do what?
He ran into Ezekiel Elliott. He lost to
Ohio State. Yeah. But yeah, I think Marcus Mariota, he's underrated in this conversation. I mean, Tim Tebow definitely probably takes it. And again, that's probably some bias and just, running into him during that time frame. But I mean, he threw for a touchdown in each of his 41 starts. He was the first player in Pac-12 history to account for 5,000 yards in total offense in a single season. And he had 58 touchdowns to just 7 turnovers. So,
yeah. Like I said, I don't hate that pick. Another fun fact, little circle of life moment. Andrew, when we lived together in college, punched a hole in his door whenever the Oregon Ducks lost to Stanford in a very close game. The man who caught that game-winning touchdown later caught a game-winning touchdown that led to me and Andrew's celebratory breaking a chair, and that would be Mr. Zach Ertz.
Yeah, it was a full circle moment.
Yeah, it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
So that'll bring us to running back. When I brought this whole idea up in the group chat, Austin immediately said, "If you don't pick Reggie Bush, you're off the podcast." Austin, I hope you're ready to make some outlines, my guy.
Oh, God.
Because I picked Barry Sanders. And it was a really difficult thing for me. I went back and forth. I kind of played it close to the chest in the group chat. But his last year at Oklahoma State, dude, 2,628 yards, 37 touchdowns in 11 games. He averaged 239 yards a game, 3.3 touchdowns a game. And we didn't mention him in our GOAT pod as the GOAT running back, and he deserves it, man. I mean, that's the greatest season for a running back ever. He's so good.
Yeah, that's crazy. So this is like we're picking our own team for the greatest. So I'm going to be biased here. Reggie Bush is my favorite college player of all time. I'm picking Reggie Bush. He's going to be my running back. But if I were going to really argue that, Herschel Walker comes up for me. And that
Yeah.
would be the guy that would be like right there every time I looked at like his stats, the fact that he finished top 3 in the Heisman race 3 years in a row, only player to ever do that. It's just hard to argue against him, but I'm doing it because I love Reggie Bush and they should not have taken his Heisman away. Yeah,
Hopefully
Reggie,
they give it back eventually.
yeah, hopefully.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And well, James alluded. I drew out my offense just to show it here quick. We have a set offense versus my set defense lined up here
He's
with
even
the
got a
bench.
full playbook and everything, so he's
Yeah,
ready.
I've already. That's already on the. We're calling people up. We're bringing them back. We're gonna get NIL deals to these guys. It's all gonna go good.
Yeah,
But
Austin's offense is a little different, so I'll let you talk about that.
I got a 2 running back set here, and obviously he alluded. My first one's Reggie Bush. It's just could be the bias, could be one of my favorite players I've ever watched play college football. Just the elusiveness, just everything about him was just ridiculous. He changed the way you watched running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jordan here goes and says my other running back. It's Herschel Walker. They're in a set together in mine. And Tim Tebow, oh my gosh, can you imagine that running game? Like, which way am I going? I'm keeping it.
But can you imagine Tim Tebow and Barry Sanders on the same backfield?
Yeah, but I got 2 threats, and my offensive line is filthy. So
239 yards a game, 3.3 touchdowns. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I got 2 running backs that are. I'm getting more yards than that. I got 2 of them.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know.
Yeah, in this figurative world.
I don't know how we're gonna see, but
whenever the NCAA game comes out,
just wait.
Whenever the NCAA game comes out, we will put all these players on a team and we will run the sim.
Run the sim.
Aren't we making the stats for each player though, too? Like their sliders and everything?
No, you can probably just download.
Surely they'll have all-time teams.
Yeah, they'll have the all-time greats like Madden does.
We'll make it happen.
I guess that's me. I mean, James already knows my pick. I was going with Barry Sanders as well with him. We were talking side of the group chat, and we were just going over the numbers, and it was, I mean, I don't see how you can pick anyone else. There was one other name that came up that every time I was looking up stats on running backs in the history was Herschel Walker, and he was going to be my honorable mention, but I think for me, I've got to go Barry.
Yeah. So that'll come to tight ends. This was a really difficult one for me.
Same.
I put a fun one on my bench, but I went Ozzie Newsome from Alabama. Put up numbers in like the 70s whenever people weren't putting up those numbers. He just ridiculous. He was named like the college football player of the decade for the 70s. And to do that at tight end, that's unbelievable. So I went with Ozzie Newsome. It was really difficult. You don't really think about tight ends. I mean, they don't win Heismans. They're not the ones that people who make predictions predict games based on. But at the end of the day, that's who I had to go with. I changed it a couple of times, but that's who I went with.
Yeah, this one was really tough, and Ozzie Newsome was right there for me. I actually went with more of a recency bias. I went Jermaine Grisham out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma, yeah.
He actually only played 2 full seasons, had 25 touchdowns, and he was like super highly touted going into his senior year and had a season-ending knee injury, which left him out of it. Of course, he still got drafted and everything. But, I mean, just looking at the numbers, it's just ridiculous. 25 touchdowns in 2 seasons for a tight end is nuts, in that time especially. So, yeah, I went with Jermaine Grisham as my starting tight end.
Now, I guess I went even more recent, not really more recently biased. Back to our childhood. I feel like all mine is like from that 2004 to like 2009 era, and it's just my whole team is built by that. But I went with Heath Miller from Virginia. And
he was a dog.
Yeah.
He was a dog. He had 20 touchdowns. He was filthy. Like he always open. Always open. He had 70 receptions his sophomore year. Crazy. Loved him. Went on to go be a great Steeler.
Yeah, I was going to say, had a great career as a Steeler, too.
Yep. Also, good blocking tight end to add to my double running back game.
Underrated, yeah. Underrated.
Mine's This was really hard for me. Mine's even more recent than your all's. I went with Brock Bowers with Georgia.
Honestly, it's not a bad.
I don't hate
Yeah,
that. I don't hate that at all.
I don't hate it.
I struggled with it, but I mean he's just been a dominant force. He's listed here at 119 receptions for 1,800 yards and 20 touchdowns through 2 seasons, and he's also rushed for 4 touchdowns as well. So he's versatile. He's dominant. He's a big body, 6'4", 230 pounds.
And oh yeah, he'll be back next year.
Yeah, he'll be back. It's
Yeah,
he
Georgia's
would have
gonna
been
be
a top
scary.
10 pick. He'd have been a top 10 pick, but
Yeah.
he'll be.
I have more of a receiving tight end because I was more using Heath Miller as like the best blocking tight end I can remember in recent history. Then too, I have more of a receiving tight end hanging out on my bench.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, he's just hanging out down there. So.
He's chilling.
That'll make a lot more sense here in a bit. So that'll bring us to our
no. Oh man.
All right, anyway,
continue, James. Continue.
Let's just keep going. Just keep talking. Don't even.
That didn't happen. All right, that'll bring us to our wide receiver core. Now, Austin's going to be a little different because he went with the 2-back set. So I got three receivers on my starting roster. Number 1 is Megatron, Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech, absolute menace to society. Made some of the most ridiculous catches you've ever seen. Also went on to have a ridiculous career. Loved Calvin Johnson at Georgia Tech. Made me have a soft spot in my heart for Georgia Tech. Number 2 for me is Randy Moss. I know he played at Marshall, but his numbers are absolutely ridiculous. He was supposed to go to Florida State. He got into some trouble. Also, another guy that went on to have a huge NFL career, one of the greatest to ever do it. In Austin's opinion, the greatest to ever do it. Number 3 for me, this is recency bias, and it's also homer bias, but give me Devontae Smith, maybe the greatest season in the history of college football. Won the Heisman Trophy, had like over 200 yards in a half of the national championship game, got banged up, didn't play in the second half. Love Devontae Smith. I sat there and watched that national championship game and said, oh, God, he's got to be an Eagle. He's got to be an Eagle. And thank God he was. He is. Thank you to the Cowboys for trading with us so the Giants didn't get him.
Yeah, we were just colluding on that one, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys got Micah, so everything worked out.
Yeah, no, it was fine. I mean, I'm cool with it. I think our top 2 is probably going to be pretty universal here. So my number 1's Randy Moss for every reason you just said, unbelievable. Number 2 is Calvin Johnson. He'd probably be number 1 if he didn't play at Georgia Tech, but he still thrived in that offense, which is crazy to think about because they literally like never threw the ball. But when you have a guy like Calvin Johnson, you kind of got to throw the ball to him. My number 3 is definitely like a little bias towards one particular game, I guess. But if you really look at the totality of his stats, I think that he fits into this list. It's Michael Crabtree out of Texas Tech. I think that catch against Texas, that by itself was awesome. But if you really look into his stats, he's easily a top 10 wide receiver. His athleticism was incredible. Had a decent NFL career. I thought he was going to be unbelievable in the NFL. Really didn't work out that way. But his college career, I think, it's undeniable. It was really great.
2 Biletnikovs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Universal. We'll go right back to it. Wide receiver 1's Randy Moss from Marshall. We'll rinse, wash, repeat again. And we got Calvin Johnson as my wide receiver 2. Because of my double running back set, I do have 2 wide receivers to swap in off my bench, but we'll get to those guys later.
Wait, so who was your third?
He has 2 on his bench because he has 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, mine's more of the same. I've got Randy Moss at number 1. I mean, he speaks for himself. And Calvin Johnson, obviously. I've got both of those guys. They're elite. And
I'm glad we all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And third, I got Jerry Rice.
Small school guy, but an absolute dog.
That's the only reason I didn't go with him. Such a small school.
Yeah.
I didn't get the competition. Obviously.
I was hesitant on it as well, but, I mean, he's a dog, like you guys said. I don't think
being able to look at
it
it through like our vision now, though, like knowing what he ended up doing, like
that's true. Yeah, and that probably plays into my pick as well, knowing now what he did. But
that was the hardest part about doing this is trying to separate people's pro career because I mean, like tight end, you're not going to go Travis Kelce. Like he wasn't
No.
So that definitely made it more difficult. But that'll bring us to our offensive lines. I'll just go all the way through our offensive lines. My 2 tackles, I've got Joe Thomas, Wisconsin, and I've got Orlando Pace, Ohio State, and absolutely just a walking pancake machine. Just at the end of his last year at Ohio State, he had so many of those Buckeye stickers on his helmet that you couldn't see the paint anymore because of all the pancakes he had. He was unreal. Very good pro career, too. At my guards, I have Mike Pouncey from Florida, 2-time All-American. This was a last-second change, but I feel like given Tim Tebow, Mike Pouncey to be behind somebody that he's familiar with can definitely help the chemistry of my team. Steve Hutchinson, Michigan, is my other pick. He huge, dominant. I mean, when you think Big Ten, you think big, strong, physical lineman. So I have 2 of them. So, but my center, this is I think maybe, Ozzie Newsome, but even more so, the one that I did not let recency bias affect. I went with Chuck Bednarik from Penn. I know the man played many moons ago, but this man was an absolute stud on both sides of the ball. He's the last person to be a 2-way player in the NFL. He was really good at both positions. And also he flew 30 missions over Germany in World War II. So give me the meanest man to maybe ever play the game of football and put him in the center of that offensive line, and I think we're going to be all right.
I love it. I did a little different with my offensive line. I didn't really go position by position. I just picked my 5, switch them around as you may. I've got Bryant McKinney out of Miami. He's on my line. Orlando Pace. I think that's probably pretty universal one. I actually went Jonathan Ogden. He was incredible at UCLA. So I went Jonathan Ogden, Joe Thomas out of Wisconsin, and I actually went Jake Long out of Michigan.
Okay. Your tackle heavy.
I wanted to work Jake Long in. I just had too many tackles.
Yeah. Same.
For my tackles, I went the Joe Thomas from Wisconsin. Then I went also neighbor of my sister. So we'll just throw that one out there.
That's true.
Bryant McKinney from the U. He's my other tackle. And then at the guards, I moved to Brickishaw Ferguson in from Virginia. And then I have Barrett Jones from Alabama. And then to exactly the same, I gave the other Pouncey brother so that Mr. Tim Tebow had his center from his 2 championships, Marquise Pouncey. Just all around. Love that line.
Might as well.
All right. I struggled with this one heavy. I don't know if it's just because I'm center focused on the wide receivers, the running backs, the quarterbacks.
He doesn't watch the trenches. Games are won in the trenches.
I mean, they may be, but I struggle with this. So as far as for the let's see, tackles, I've got Orlando Pace out of Ohio State, and Jonathan Ogden out of UCLA. I've got on guard Jim Parker out of Ohio State, and John Hanna out of Alabama. And then
he's the one I moved down. I moved John Hanna out of mine in place of Pouncey just for some recency. But go ahead, center.
Yeah, no, everybody's kind of old school on my list here. So, and then I've got Dave Remington out of Nebraska under center. So
yeah, he's got an award named after him. I mean, there's a reason for that. So
the average weight of his offensive line is like 235 pounds.
Yeah, he's good thing Barry's good at running backwards. He's used to running behind lines that can't. Yeah. He's just making him feel at home back there. So, Andrew, you didn't do a bench, did you?
I did not. No, I didn't.
Okay. The rest of us did. Jordan threw one together right before in pre-show. My bench, Reggie Bush, USC. He's my alternate running back. I mean, you have 2 absolutely quicker than fast running backs to come in, and Barry's gashing and you put Reggie Bush in. That's ridiculous. Shout out Jordan. We had a moment in pre-show. Michael Crabtree. We watched that game-winning catch against Texas together, and we freaked out. And Jordan, I think you're going to like this one too. My backup tight end. Not that I think he's like the greatest to ever do it, just for fun and because he was very good.
I know where you're going with this.
Give me Jeremy Shockey.
Ooh.
I know exactly where you're going with that. So my backups, I mean, I've got my backup quarterback's Cam Newton. We already went over that. I mean, that's my backup quarterback. My backup running back's Herschel Walker. Again, we already kind of went over that. My backup wide receiver, Larry Fitzgerald out of Pitt.
Yeah.
Great career there, and obviously what he did in the NFL, unmatched. My backup tight end, Austin kind of took the shine on this one, but my backup tight end is Aaron Hernandez. I mean, as much as we want to shame him and everything, this guy was unbelievable at Florida. What an athlete. I guess he's on my bench.
Where he should be.
Well,
I couldn't put a murder on my bench. I tried to talk myself into it. I just couldn't do
Well,
it. I
this
know he
was-
was really good. I know he was
in
Tebow's.
college, so it's okay.
I know.
and
This is before the murder happened.
Well,
Remember,
least before-
we're
but there was
excluding
some-
the pro
At
careers.
least before he got caught, right?
yeah,
yeah.
there was still some questionable moments during that time anyway.
Allegedly. We all say
Yeah.
allegedly here. Allegedly, we're not getting
Yeah,
sued
dude.
by the Hernandez family. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
All right, to go to my bench, I got 2 wide receivers down there, and this really, one, recency bias, and just my love for the birds. Devontae Smith is down there. And then I have one who never really lived up to his he never lived up to his college like hype and how much everybody backed him up. Corey Davis, 5th overall pick. He just never lived up to it, but he was outstanding in college. So he's down there on my bench. Then I got Aaron Hernandez, as previously stated. And I have a big running back. I have a 3rd running back, a little power back, one from the Wisconsin, and he's Ron Dane. I'm
Yeah.
putting him down there. And
There's
I'm
another
bowling
pro
ball
bust.
through some people. What?
Another pro bust.
Another pro bust, but college, man. What
Absolute
a
dog.
freak.
Heisman winner. I mean, he was good. You're right.
What a freak. So, all right. There's my Wisconsin love. I got 2 of them on there, and one's on my bench. So,
It happens. All right, so that'll bring us to our break in this episode. We'll take a quick break and we will come back and we will complete our defenses. All right, welcome back. You know what they say, offense wins games, but defense wins championships. And by God, we've put together some tough defenses. This is also going to be one that's kind of different. I went with a 3-4 defense, so I have 3 linemen. I know some of my colleagues here went with a 4-3. But at the high school that I coach at, and I coach defensive line, we run a 3-man front. And I think with my 3-man front, it's going to be hard to do anything anyway, let alone my linebackers. So I'll start with my defensive ends. Defensive end number 1. If you don't have this guy, you need to resign. Reggie White, the GOAT of all defensive linemen, University of Tennessee, absolute menace, minister of defense. Really good at Tennessee, really good in the pros. Greatest defensive lineman to ever walk the face of the earth. He needs no introduction. My other defensive end is a man that's maybe one of the most athletic people to play the position. If you can play defensive end in the NFL for a very long time and also start in basketball at the University of North Carolina, you deserve a spot on my list. Mr. Julius Peppers from UNC is my other defensive end. In the middle, a guy who I absolutely adored when he was playing in college. He was a man who was in the Heisman voting as a defensive tackle my senior year of high school. He was also a Philadelphia Eagle last season. That would be Ndamukong Suh. So Reggie White, Julius Peppers, and Ndamukong Suh rounding out my 3-man front.
So I went a 4-man front, and at the defensive tackle position, I don't think anybody can disagree with Ndamukong Suh because, like you said, he was literally in the Heisman race as a defensive tackle.
Finished 3rd.
Yeah, like, come on, seriously? Okay. My other defensive tackle is Glenn Dorsey out of LSU. Dude was an absolute stud at LSU. And then on the edge, I mean, Reggie White, come on. Like, duh. And I've got Jadeveon Clowney at South Carolina. He was just an absolute menace. Freak athlete. Just all the hype in the world around him, just could not stay healthy. I mean, still had a pretty good NFL career, still having a pretty good NFL career, but not what everybody expected. But in college, he was just nuts. So that's my front 4. Ndamukong Suh, Glenn Dorsey, Reggie White, Jadeveon Clowney.
Jadeveon Clowney also had the greatest ball don't lie moment in the history of college football.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Michigan.
So our brains are just like attached with wires that are just going between us right now. And it's just a one big synopsis here because it goes Reggie White as one of my ends, Jadeveon Clowney, and I was arguing one other name. He's on my bench. It was Julius Peppers. I'm just going to spoil that already. So Jadeveon Clowney's on one side. We got Reggie White on the other. Clowney, and Peppers is on my bench. So far we've built the same ends, correct? And then we go to my defensive tackles, and we have Ndamukong Suh from Nebraska, a dominant force from the inside. And then Glenn Dorsey on the other one.
I didn't think anybody else would go Glenn Dorsey with me, but
yeah, he was so
here
good.
Here we are. I built the same defensive line as you. Yep. So
our defense is going to be Studley then.
Hey, he went with a 3-4, and we just added an extra piece to it. We're just like add Glenn Dorsey and see what happens. So.
All right. So again, I struggle with defense. I don't focus on the defense, but especially D line. But
you watch your mouth.
Listen, it's not my interest. Okay, it's fine. We still have a lot similar. I have Jadeveon Clowney as well. I also have Mr. Sue. I can't pronounce his first name for the life of me, so I'm not even going to attempt it.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's what Cam Newton called him.
I've also got Reggie White, and then I've got Grant Windstrom out of Nebraska.
Yeah, he was good too.
But
yeah,
that's what I got.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I've got another tackle on my bench, and it's not Glenn Dorsey. I thought about Glenn Dorsey, but I went 2 defensive linemen on my bench because I love the D line, unlike Andrew, who doesn't appreciate the sexiest position in all of football.
I'm sorry.
So 4-man linebacking core. The reason that I don't need a 4th defensive lineman to start is because I have the greatest edge linebacker of all time, Lawrence Taylor, University of North Carolina. I'm going to bring him up off the edge on the same edge as Reggie White, and you're going to have to block Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor on the same side of the ball. Good luck. You're going to die. My 2 middle linebackers, Derek Johnson, Texas, absolute stud, multiple All-Americans, decent pro career, not super decorated, few Pro Bowls, but absolute menace at Texas. Other middle linebacker is Ray Lewis out of Miami. Like I said, he was my second pick on our GOAT pod behind Lawrence Taylor on the greatest linebacker of all time, but I'm going to go ahead and take them both. And my other outside linebacker is another Derek Brooks, Florida State.
I like it. We kind of went in really different directions on linebackers. I'm interested to see if everybody else did too. I went Patrick Willis out of Ole Miss, obviously phenomenal NFL career as well. I went Manti Te'o as well because, again,
what about his girlfriend?
No, she doesn't exist.
But
I mean, another guy that was in the Heisman race as a linebacker.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
And my other one, actually, I don't know how I feel about it, but I do remember watching him. He was Studley at Ohio State. James Laurinaitis. Yeah, I went with James Laurinaitis. And a little spoiler, Ray Lewis is on my bench. And if I had 4 linebackers, Ray Lewis would be there. But as of right now, he's sitting on the bench. That's just college Ray Lewis. It's not NFL Ray Lewis. But those are my 3 linebackers, James Laurinaitis, Patrick Willis, and Manti Te'o, and his girlfriend, who doesn't count as a player on the field because she doesn't exist.
So
she doesn't exist.
Our brains were synapsising again here. I love to see it. We start with one side of my linebacking core, and it starts with Patrick Willis from Ole Miss. Then we go to the middle here, where we got Manti Te'o in the middle. And then on my bench, you can clearly see Manti Te'o's girlfriend was listed as one of my bench players. So that's hilarious that joke just went fully all around. And then we have Jonathan Vilma on the other side.
Yes,
yeah. Guys, listen, and I know Cam's going to listen to this podcast. The disrespect you all have for Lawrence Taylor is unbelievable.
You didn't see who I covered up on my bench, sir. He's there. It's just I didn't put him in. I'm sorry.
He should be starting. I'm sorry.
This is an all-time team. It's literally everybody's
He's the
good.
greatest outside linebacker to ever play football, Austin.
Hey, that's fine. This defense is still going to be insane.
I like mine better. Go ahead, Andrew.
So I've also got Manti Te'o. I've got Patrick Willis, and then Ray Lewis for mine. A little.
The disrespect to, I mean, LT played for the Giants, but God, guys, he's so good. Whatever. Defensive backs. I feel like this one will probably have a lot of agreement on. Yeah. My 2 corners. You are not getting any separation from these 2 corners. Deion Sanders, Florida State. He's also going to return kicks for me, unless I'm allowed to have a kick return specialist, and I'm taking Devin Hester.
Devin has.
But Deion Sanders, Florida State. On the other side, Charles Woodson, Michigan. Won a Heisman Trophy, absolute menace. He's somebody that people in Tennessee hate because he won the Heisman over Peyton Manning. Huge, great pro career, NFL Hall of Famer, absolute stud. Played both ways, so I could actually play him at receiver if I really wanted to. And my two safeties, I went with two guys from the U. Ed Reed, Austin's GOAT safety, or GOAT DB. I went corner, I went with Deion. If I had to pick a GOAT safety, it'd probably be Ed Reed. So give me Ed Reed, and give me the guy whose jersey Jordan was wearing, who I think would have had maybe the most illustrious career at safety if Dan Snyder didn't ruin him. That'd be Mr. Sean Taylor. Rest in peace, Miami.
So yeah, I think we're all pretty much going to be pretty similar here. I have Sir Charles Woodson and Deion Sanders as my corners. And at the safety position, I have Ed Reed and Sean Taylor. I mean, again, Sean Taylor, I don't think there's any competition with Ed Reed. I don't think Sean Taylor's particularly close to Ed Reed, to be honest.
More tackles in
yes,
college.
but I just talk about just the dominance of Ed Reed in general.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really the hardest hitting safety probably in the history of football and college football particularly. But Sean Taylor was unbelievable. I hate that we couldn't see the rest of his career and what he could have ended up being. So rest in peace, Sean Taylor, but he does make my list.
Same again. Here we go. Charles Woodson, Deion Sanders, just the easiest choices in corners you could possibly do. It's two of the greatest that have ever touched the field, ever done it. It just all around this defense would just murder people. And then we go to safety, more than my bench would. And we got Ed Reed and Eric Berry. I changed it up. I didn't go with
I like the Eric Berry pick.
I like the pick. I like it.
Yeah, so those are my that's my secondary. I mean, I don't think we're really gonna none of us are gonna stray farther apart from that. It's gonna be the same, like almost 5-6 guys. So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I pretty much had this. I think the exact same as you, Austin. I had Charles Woodson and Deion Sanders, and then I had Eric Berry and Ed Reed for mine as well. So,
well, Eric Berry. Go ahead and say this. Eric Berry is the first alternate on my bench. Big Tennessee guy, absolute just difference maker on a team that really wasn't very good. He deserved a heck of a lot better during his college years, but he got his shine, got drafted 5th overall by the Chiefs. Had a pretty good pro career, beat cancer, just an absolute phenomenal person. My two defensive linemen, Warren Sapp, Miami, he's my backup tackle. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of his pro career being as good as it was, but got a lot of Miami guys, so I think the continuity there is going to be nice. Yeah. And then my other defensive end is Jadeveon Clowney. So we do all have the same defensive lineman between So, we're there. And then my backup linebacker would be Mr. Luke Kuechly, Boston College, who is maybe the smartest man to ever play the linebacking position. He knew exactly where everyone was going to go, when they were going to go there. If you watch his mic'd up clips, he is one of the greatest to ever play the game, and it's a shame that he retired at such a young age, but I respect him for doing it.
Yeah. I mean, again, my bench is pretty similar. I already alluded to Ray Lewis, backup linebacker, backup safety, Eric Berry. I think those are the top 3 safeties right there. I think that's pretty standard. Defensive end, Julius Peppers. Defensive tackle, Warren Sapp. Actually, backup corner, I went with Joe Hayden, another great cornerback in college, so I went with Joe Hayden on that. So that's my backup cornerback. But yeah, everything's pretty similar there.
And I went with Lawrence Taylor. We got Julius Peppers, and we got Manti Te'o's girlfriend, and Chris Long, actually, defensive end, Virginia.
Love Chris Long.
Outstanding career there. And it was just, and then became an Eagle and became one of my favorite Eagles to ever play over there. So just had to add him on.
Yeah.
So I got 2 defensive ends in my 4-man bench, and one of them's a
I respect
that doesn't exist.
I respect it.
The question is, what kind of play styles are you going to put Manti Te'o's girlfriend in? I mean,
it's in a 10-man package. Missing a guy on there. Who's supposed to be out there?
Yeah.
Don't you see Manti's girlfriend out there? Come on.
Maybe. I don't know. but yeah, that'll wrap it up. I think no matter how you cut it, I think all of those teams are pretty dang good, especially the similarities that we have. But this will not be the last time we make another all-time lineup. I can see us doing it for some other sports too. So continue to watch and share and like and subscribe and share it with all your friends. I have to say it again because I really would like for you to share it with all your friends. Follow us on social media, and we'll just continue putting out the content. Until next time, Lawrence Taylor is very disrespected by this group.
Rest in peace, Sean Taylor.
R.I.P. Sean Taylor.
Go Birds.